my opinion that when someone's looking for a job, they need to really investigate in themselves what they want. And there are intrinsic and extrinsic things that motivate us. The chairperson is going to evaluate you and what motivates you based on the kind of questions you ask. So somebody who's interested in advancing their career and for intellectual stimulation and for mentorship and opportunities to write articles and collaborate is the kind of person most chairs are looking for. If somebody immediately is asking, for raises and, how they can make more money, then that person is extrinsically motivated, which is not a bad thing, but you just need to recognize that, and maybe academics is not the right place for you, especially for the long haul.
The other thing that's good to ask about before you start in any setting is titles. A title is free most of the time, and as long as, again, whoever is hiring you can keep that consistent with the rest of the people in the practice area, it can be a great way to give you some stature as you begin your very early parts of practice.
I think the important things to negotiate in an academic contract are the place where you're going to practice, particularly if an academic institution has more than one site location. Are you being asked to join the practice strictly in an off-site clinical area? Are you going to have an opportunity to teach? Is there some protected time to both teach, prepare lectures, and to write? You need to know the expectations, number one. What is going to be the expected volume, the expected patient population? Who's going to work with you? How much staff support are you going to get? Are the current members of the group going to share their patients?
One of the most important things to ask about in a contract is what your future is going to look like. Will you be an employee forever? Will you be an employee for a year, 2 years, and then maybe have some partnership ability? Will your ability to have some impact on decisions change with time? How long is that? These are all the kinds of things. And then along the way, what will happen to your compensation and when?
So when you're negotiating a particular contract, it begins with trust, because what's put down in writing, what anyone puts down in writing, is only as good as is the trust you have with that person or that faculty member or the chairperson. But when you're looking at a contract, if you need to ask an attorney to understand the basic verbiage in the contract, it's a bad start, right? So you need to be able to understand the basic lingo, the language in the contract, even at face value.
The first thing you have to remember about any negotiation is that you're really entering into a relationship. So you really don't want to come in an adversarial type of way. You want to be able to look at establishing a relationship with the individual, probably your future employer or boss, and really be open and authentic in your discussions and be comfortable selling yourself. Be comfortable. This is what I can do. This is what I want to do. Be passionate about what you want to do. And in those situations, it's hard for someone to kind of say, no, you can't do that. Unless they really can't do that for you. They're understanding that this is something you really, really want to do. So those are really important things, and authenticity is super important.
In negotiating contracts for academics, which I know more about than private practice, although we've helped people who go into private practice negotiate their contracts, and maybe I can allude to that later. But in academics, there are some things that are not that flexible. The conditions of work, what the restrictive covenant is, what site you're expected to work at, what the hours might be. Some of these things are going to be boilerplate, and you can ask to have them changed, but it's pretty unlikely they're going to be changed. On the other hand, some things that you might think are written in stone are not. I think it's a common misconception that every academic contract is identical at the same academic medical center. I thought it was when I first signed up.
When you go into a contract negotiation, you may want X amount of dollars, you may want this many clinics, you may want this many residents. But what you have to think about before you even go in is, what is it that's the least amount you'll settle for and be happy? Not what is your floor, but what is that point where it's your alternative to what you're asking for that you'll still be happy taking.
I think you also have to have multiple offers going simultaneously until the final contract is executed, because if even the nicest academic medical center feels like you're geographically constrained and that's the only place you're looking at, the offer is not going to be as competitive as it otherwise might be.
But the basic structure is a base pay and then some sort of commission. That's number one. Two, what benefits come along with that. And sometimes younger dermatologists don't understand that benefits have a monetary value as well. And those benefits include everything from medical malpractice insurance, disability and or life insurance, which is part of some of these policies. And then some of the better programs, whether they're academic or private practice programs, will also provide some sort of matching 401k, a pension plan, and that has great value. But restrictive covenants are in every one of these contracts now, and you have to be very careful with that.
There are 3 points to a restrictive covenant that you need. It's duration, distance, and penalty. And so as you look at your contract, if it doesn't have all 3, for the most part, it's not enforceable. And so you have to look at those 3.
So one of the questions I frequently get from people as they start to look for their first job is, do I need a lawyer to review my contract? And I think it really depends on what kind of setting you're going into. If you're going into a well-established large institution like an academic center or, for example, a Kaiser or some other large health center, they will have an established boilerplate. And there may not honestly be all that much that can be changed in the general structure because they have to keep parity across the rest of their institution. However, I think I have seen people start to do review of those contracts more frequently than lawyers than I had seen in the past. If you are going into private practice, you absolutely need a lawyer to review your agreement. There are a number of nuances, and some of them are very state dependent, around restrictive covenants, separation clauses, non-competes, and you want to understand those ahead of time. And I also think if you're going to go into private practice, you need to understand that you need an employment lawyer to look at this. A garden variety lawyer may not be the right person, and you need someone with real knowledge in your particular state, because those laws really do differ, and you want someone that really understands what might be important for you later on.
One of the key things to remember is that most of us in dermatology did not go to business school. And because of that, and we're also not lawyers, a lot of times when you look at a contract, it looks like Greek. And I think it's a really good idea to have a lawyer look at your contract, even if it's just to rubber stamp the things that you look at. When a dermatologist has a lawyer look at a contract, it's important to remember that you're in control. The lawyer may give you advice about what they think is best, but they're talking about a big world that they've looked at, but you're looking at your small world. And in medicine, we don't live in a sort of a legal confrontation kind of society. And so you may see something that a lawyer says, don't do that, but you feel is a reasonable thing because it's a trade-off for something else that will build goodwill with your future partner. And I think it's important to remember that as the dermatologist, your lawyer is helping you, but not telling you exactly what to do.